Tonight on This Week in Politics.
How many times do we have daily inebriates booked into jail? How many times do we have people crash their vehicle?
Minnehaha County Commissioner Jeff Barth says he has a real concern about the costs associated with alcohol use and abuse here in the county. We've got an in-depth conversation with him coming up in just a few moments. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Allen. Thank you for being with us tonight. We are beginning this evening with the Republican candidate for South Dakota Attorney General, Jason Ravnsborg. He says he has a three-point plan to fight back against the growing problem of meth and opioid addiction here in the state. He says South Dakota's drug problem is his top priority in this race.
I believe that we have a drug problem in our state, and I think I've got the skills and background to address it.
Jason Ravnsborg grew up in a small community in northwest Iowa and says when he was younger, the drug problem was non-existent, and that now, obviously, something has changed.
I, in fact, never had drugs around when I grew up. I wouldn't know where to get them, and now they're sadly so plentiful. And I think there's a number of solutions that I believe I can offer.
Ravnsborg tells me he has a three-point plan to get the upper hand on meth and opioid addiction in South Dakota. It begins with changing a current law on the books that has to do with sentencing guidelines for those convicted of drug crimes.
Right now we have what they call presumptive probation. So if you're a meth user, class 5 or 6 felony, our lowest felonies, you don't necessarily have, you're not going to go to prison right away. They know that, the users know it, and so there's no incentive to work with law enforcement. So if we remove presumptive probation and put some deterrence back into the system, I think that that will encourage them to work with us.
The second part of Ravnsborg's plan is a treatment training component where the drug offender gets treatment for their addiction while at the same time receiving job training to learn a new skill. Ravnsborg says this would be partially accomplished by the establishment of trustee units.
And what a trustee unit is it teaches the prisoner to work. He goes and works with an industry and he learns a skill like being a welder. And he takes that skill when he leaves prison and hopefully finds a new life and a better life for himself.
And then the third part of his plan, the establishment of a new prison facility to be located somewhere, he says, in western South Dakota, where all those convicted of methamphetamine-related crimes would be housed.
I've looked at the state of Wyoming, and they have what they call a meth prison. And that place is a rehabilitation center, and it's only for people that have used meth. So if you're your normal burglar, rapist, murderer, you don't go there and mix in with the people that are using meth. Now, obviously, there's going to be some cost involved to build this facility, but I think we can also have a second wing onto this place also to help mental illness. So we can have something that addresses mental illness and drugs all in the same facility.
Ravnsborg is a graduate of the USD Law School. He's been in private practice for about 17 years, the last 3 of which he has also served as a deputy state's attorney in Union County. In 2014, he sought the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate in a crowded field that included Annette Bosworth, Stace Nelson, Larry Roden, and eventual primary and general election winner Mike Rounds. I asked Ravnsborg if he has the political relationships among state senators and state representatives and peer to get the support needed for his ideas to move forward.
And I've built relationships in every part of the state, and I believe in every part of my party, and I've reached out to Democrats as well and talked with a number of them.
Also part of Ravnsborg's history, his service in the U.S. Army Reserve, where he says his position as a battalion commander and his service in Iraq and Afghanistan have taught him how to lead.
When I was 27 years old, I got off the plane in Kuwait, and I had 180 people that I was responsible for their lives, and I brought every single one of them home alive. So I had them from 18 to 54, and I was 27 at the time, so I'm telling people twice my age what to do.
Republican candidate for South Dakota Attorney General Jason Ravnsborg. He faces former South Dakota U.S. Attorney Randy Seiler in the November general election. You can see our interview with him by searching Randy Seiler in quotes on KSFY.com and the KSFY News app. Up next on This Week in Politics.
Our costs of alcohol-related issues are in excess of $10 million a year.
While many are concerned about South Dakota's drug problem, and rightly so, Minnehaha County Commissioner Jeff Barth says there's also a big problem right now with alcohol. That conversation next on KSFY.